Welcome to G Fun Facts Online. Imagine trying to predict the weather on a world you can't even see properly, a planet orbiting a star hundreds of light years away. This isn't science fiction. It's a very real and rapidly growing field called Astro-Climatology. It's the science of understanding the atmospheres and climates of these distant worlds, or exoplanets. As we discover more and more of them, from scorching gas giants to rocky worlds that might hold water, we're essentially becoming alien weather forecasters. And this isn't just a fascinating academic puzzle. It's a core part of our search for life beyond Earth. To know if a planet could host life, we first need to know if it has a climate that life could survive. So today, we're diving deep into the forces that shape these alien climates, the wild variety of weather systems we're discovering, and the incredible technology we use to peer into atmospheres light years from home. At the heart of this entire search is a concept you've probably heard of, the habitable zone, sometimes called the Goldilocks zone. This is the orbital region around a star where it's not too hot and not too cold for liquid water to exist on a planet's surface. And since liquid water is the one non-negotiable ingredient for life as we know it, this zone is our starting point. But it's not a one-size-fits-all location. A hot, bright star has a wide habitable zone that's far away from it. A cooler, dimmer star, like the very common M-dwarf stars, has a much narrower habitable zone that huddles in close. And even then, being in the zone is no guarantee of a pleasant, Earth-like climate. A planet's atmosphere is the real kingmaker. For example, a dry desert planet with very little water vapor would have a weak greenhouse effect, so it could orbit closer to its star and still maintain liquid water, while a planet with a thick, insulating atmosphere might be habitable much farther out. So what are the key factors that create an exoplanet's climate? First and foremost is the host star itself. It's the engine, providing the energy that drives everything. We classify stars with letters O, B, A, F, G, K, and M, from hottest to coolest. Our Sun is a G-type star. Planets around hot O or A-type stars get a lot of energy. But these stars live fast and die young, which might not be great for the long, slow process of evolution. On the other end, the cool K and M-type stars are the most common in our galaxy. They have lifespans that can stretch for hundreds of billions of years, offering plenty of time for life to arise. But planets and their habitable zones are so close, they become tidally locked, with one side in perpetual daylight and the other in endless night. They also get blasted with intense X-ray and UV radiation. The color of the starlight also matters. Cooler, redder stars emit more of their light in the near-infrared. Gases like carbon dioxide and water vapor are great at absorbing this kind of light, which can make a planet warmer than you'd expect just from the total energy it receives. Next, you have the planet's orbit, its cosmic dance. The distance from the star is obvious. Farther away means colder, but the shape of the orbit, its eccentricity, is also crucial. A perfectly circular orbit provides a steady stream of energy. A highly eccentric oval-shaped orbit would give the planet extreme temperature swings as it moves closer to and farther from its star. Then there's the planet's axial tilt, or obliquity. On Earth, our 23.5-degree tilt gives us seasons. A planet with no tilt would have no seasons at all, while a planet with a massive tilt would experience wildly extreme seasonal changes. The most critical factor of all is the atmosphere. It's the planetary blanket. Greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide, water vapor, and methane trap heat, warming the surface. Without our greenhouse effect, Earth would be a frozen ball of ice. This effect can dramatically expand the habitable zone. Atmospheric pressure also matters. Higher pressure can keep water liquid over a wider range of temperatures. And then there are clouds. Clouds have a dual personality. They can reflect sunlight back into space, cooling the planet like a global sunscreen. but they can also trap heat radiating from the surface, warming the planet like a blanket. On many exoplanets, we think clouds might be made of some pretty exotic stuff, not water ice, but tiny droplets of liquid rock, like silicates or even corundum, the mineral that makes rubies and sapphires. And of course, there is water itself. Oceans are fantastic at storing and transporting heat. On Earth, ocean currents move warm water from the equator to the poles, moderating our global climate. On a tidally locked planet, an ocean could be the difference between life and death, carrying heat to the dark side and preventing the atmosphere from freezing and collapsing. Water also creates a powerful feedback loop. As a planet cools, ice sheets expand. Ice is bright and reflective, so it reflects more sunlight, which causes even more cooling. It's a runaway effect called the ice albedo feedback. Finally, on rocky worlds with both oceans and land, there's a planetary thermostat called the carbonate-silicate cycle. It's a long-term process where carbon dioxide is removed from the atmosphere by rock weathering and then returned by volcanic eruptions, keeping the climate stable over millions of years. To figure out how all these factors combine on worlds we can't visit, scientists build virtual laboratories, sophisticated computer models. The simplest are one-dimensional models. They treat the atmosphere as a single vertical column, calculating the balance of energy coming in and going out. They're fast and great for a first look, but they can't simulate winds or how heat moves around the planet. Two-dimensional models add latitude, showing how heat might move from the equator to the poles. But the gold standard are the three-dimensional global circulation models, or GCMs. These are the same kind of supercomputer models used to predict climate change on Earth, but adapted for the truly alien conditions of exoplanets. They divide a planet's atmosphere into a 3D grid and simulate everything: winds, clouds, heat transport, and moisture. These GCMs have given us some incredible insights into the zoo of possible exoplanet climates. Take those tidally locked planets orbiting M-dwarf stars. Early ideas suggested their atmospheres would just freeze on the permanent night side. But 3D models show that strong winds can whip heat from the hot day side to the cold night side fast enough to keep the atmosphere circulating. This could create a habitable ring around the planet in the twilight zone, the terminator, between day and night. Models of these worlds often show a giant permanent cloud deck parked right at the substellar point, the spot directly facing the star. This massive cloud acts like a mirror, reflecting a lot of light and keeping the day side from getting too hot. This leads to a bizarre climate often called an eyeball planet, with a hot pupil surrounded by a cooler region. If you add an ocean, it gets even weirder, with models predicting a lobster-shaped pattern of open water. Then you have water worlds, planets completely covered in a deep, global ocean, which might be very common. How do they regulate their climate without the rock weathering cycle we have on Earth? Recent studies suggest a similar feedback could happen on the seafloor. Weathering of the oceanic crust could draw down CO2, providing a stabilizing effect that could keep these worlds habitable for billions of years. Finally, there's the most common type of planet we've found: super-Earths. These are worlds bigger than Earth, but smaller than Neptune. Their climates could be incredibly diverse. Some might be rocky, others might have thick hydrogen atmospheres, making them more like mini-Neptunes. But some research suggests they could be super-habitable. Their larger mass might lead to more vigorous volcanic activity and plate tectonics, which helps regulate climate. A thicker atmosphere and stronger magnetic field would offer better protection from radiation. So how do we actually observe these distant climates? It's an immense challenge, but astronomers have some ingenious techniques. The most powerful is transit spectroscopy. When a planet passes in front of its star, A tiny fraction of the starlight shines through the planet's atmosphere. Different gases in that atmosphere absorb light at specific wavelengths, leaving a chemical fingerprint in the star's spectrum. By reading this barcode of light, we can tell what the atmosphere is made of. We've used this to find water vapor, carbon dioxide, and methane on distant worlds. The main challenge is that the signal is incredibly small, and clouds can often block our view. Another technique is direct imaging, literally taking a picture of the planet. This is like trying to photograph a firefly sitting next to a giant stadium searchlight from miles away. Astronomers use incredible instruments called coronagraphs that block the overwhelming glare of the star, allowing the faint light of the planet to be seen. It's only worked for a handful of large, young planets so far, but it's the holy grail of exoplanet science. A third method is phase curve analysis. As a planet orbits its star, it goes through phases, just like our moon. By measuring the tiny changes in the total brightness of the star-planet system, we can create a rough map of the planet's temperature from day to night. This tells us how efficiently the atmosphere moves heat around and can even hint at the presence of clouds. Despite these amazing tools, the field faces major challenges. The signals are faint. The star's own activity can mimic a planet's signal, and our models are still based on Earth, which might not apply to these alien worlds. But the future is incredibly bright. The James Webb Space Telescope, or JWST, is already a revolution. Its massive mirror and infrared vision are giving us the clearest views of exoplanet atmospheres we've ever had, detecting a whole new range of molecules on smaller, cooler planets. And on the ground, the next generation of giant observatories, like the aptly named Extremely Large Telescope in Chile, will have mirrors so big they could directly image Earth-like planets around nearby stars and search their atmospheres for biosignatures, the chemical signs of life. We're also looking forward to future space missions like Plato, which will find thousands of new planets, and Ariel, which is designed specifically to do a large-scale chemical survey of exoplanet atmospheres. We are entering a new era of exploration. We're moving from just counting planets to understanding them as unique worlds, each with its own complex climate. From the eyeball planets, with their permanent cloud features, to the steamy water worlds, to the potentially super-habitable super-Earths, every discovery is rewriting our understanding of what a planet can be. The ultimate goal, of course, is to find that pale blue dot orbiting another sun. And with the tools we have now and the ones on the horizon, we are closer than ever. The answer to that age-old question, are we alone, might just be hidden in the climate of a distant world. Thanks for listening to Fun Facts Online.